Bonfire. All right, Bonfire, the demonstrator. I've been talking about this for the past 3 years now, and we finally have a shirt for the reference. I guess you could say that. Anyways, go to Bonfire, get your demonstrator so you can set the example and let other people know that they have the influence, and they have the chance, and they have the choice to give their demons, give their shadow self, give those dark potentials within themselves direction so that they can utilize that inner beast instead of taming and destroying the beast. Instead of slaying the dragon, now you can give the dragon direction. All right, so get your demonstrator shirt today. All right, let me give me some water real quick before we actually get started on this though. You know what I'm saying? I've been staying hydrated for the past couple of weeks. Honestly, I've been starting drinking like 6 to 7 bottles of water a day, you know, because I've been really taking my workout journey very serious and stuff like that, you know. So things of that nature, I've been disciplining myself, waking up every morning 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock to 6:30 in the morning, starting out my workout at like 8 o'clock, leaving the gym by maybe 11 o'clock, you know, all that type of stuff. So I've been really taking my journey very serious. I've been drinking, I drank like 5 to 6 bottles of water yesterday. I drank 3 bottles off top, you know, in the morning. I drank one with my pre-workout meal, and then I had my water bottle for when I work out, and I had a water bottle when I came back home before I ate lunch, and then I had 2 more water bottles in the afternoon, late afternoon, and I had one in the evening. So, you know, I'm really proud of myself. I've really been doing stuff. So I just want to get a little in-depth information on what I've been out here doing, all that type of stuff. But what's good, everybody? Welcome to the Omnist podcast. This is episode 67. Thank you to everybody who's been listening to my podcast and everything that I've been doing. So as you can see, we have a different landscape here. You know, I wanted to be out here in nature. Last time I was on a tennis court. Now I'm out here. Hopefully you can see me well. I did my best with the lighting because the sun is blazing right now. So, you know, yesterday was just the spring equinox, and we're going to talk about a little bit of that in this video. But I want to talk about specifically about authenticity, okay? Being authentic and having integrity with what you do and who you are. And I feel like it's very important. It has a lot to do with the demonstrator, okay? So we're going to get into it, all right? But make sure you like the video if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you know, if you're a first-time listener, make sure you follow me, turn on all your notifications. I guarantee you, you know, content like this is something that you just don't easily come around, for people to talk about self-improvement, spiritual concepts that you can, you know, get on an everyday basis. You can get a little laugh here and there. You know, I try not to be too spookish on these type of podcast episodes, and I try to be very vulnerable, very open, because there's only going to be a small audience. No matter how big my audience is going to be, it's always going to be a small audience of people that are actually going to be willing to listen to the things that I have to say and stuff like that. So shout out to y'all. All right, everybody be listening to me from all over the place, different countries, whether it's in America, whether it's in, I've had some people in Brazil, some people in the Caribbean, some people in Africa, Switzerland, a couple of people in Germany, one person in Australia, you know, like, so everywhere, all over the place. People are listening to my content and this podcast. So I really appreciate those who be, you might share it to somebody, or you might give it to somebody, or you tell somebody to have a listen, all this type of stuff. Like good ratings. I didn't even know my podcast episodes until a couple of weeks ago, or last week, that my podcast episodes were uploading on Apple Podcasts. Because on the analytics on Anchor, it shows you like where your podcasts are being sent out to and stuff like that. And Anchor basically puts out, and if you heard the for those who are on Spotify, you heard the little advertisement for Anchor and stuff like that. But with Spotify, or with Anchor, it shows you like where your podcast is going to be listening to, who's listening to your podcast, all that good stuff. So I saw a couple of ratings on Apple Podcasts and stuff like that, but I would love to see like maybe a couple of more, maybe 10 more reviews or whatever the case is. So if you're listening to me on Apple Podcasts, or if you have Apple Podcasts, you should, if you have an iPhone, it should be automatic, like an automatic app on there. Leave a couple of ratings, 4, 5 stars. Give me all 5 stars, because you ain't listening to no other podcast like this. Let's just be honest here. All right. So make sure you have put on your ratings and talk about what you take from my podcast and how much you like and stuff like that. So be authentic. Be authentic with it and all that other good stuff. So hopefully you can see me. Hopefully I'm not too bright. I tried to level, like I said before, level the brightness and stuff like that. I always have to say this when I'm outside. I apologize if you hear trucks passing by. The wind is blazing. The wind feels good, but it feels good along with the sun and birds out here and a little bit of clouds and stuff like that. So I just had to get this content, because I won't be able to upload a podcast outside for the rest of the week, almost probably, more likely than not. All right, so I just wanted to record this right now so that I'll record it, or I'll put it together later on. Okay, but I'm recording this on Tuesday. I'm looking to upload this podcast episode maybe on a Friday, so you might be watching this on a Thursday or a Friday. But yeah, so we're listening to this podcast. All right, you're already listening to this podcast. And we're going to be talking about authenticity. All right, but before we get into that, I want to talk about the spring equinox that happened yesterday, or if you're watching this on Thursday or Friday, what happened on Monday. Okay, now I've heard some people here and there talk about like this spring equinox, this New Year's, as some people will call it, is basically going to be a big shift for a lot of people in their everyday life. So whenever it concerns spring coming about, this is the return of the Mother Goddess. Okay, this is the return of Shakti, as I talk about in a couple of my reels. Shakti's return. This is when Shakti, whether you want to call her Shakti, whether you want to call her Auset, whether you want to call her Mother Mary, whatever the case is, this is when the Mother Goddess, Mother Nature, returns back to the earth and replenish the earth. Right? This is when she comes back and rebirths everything, regenerates everything, brings life back to the earth after 3 months of death, after 3 months of cold, right? She resurrects Osiris, she resurrects Haru, she resurrects, not Osiris, she resurrects, not Haru, she resurrects Osiris. Mary Magdalene, having that Auset energy, resurrects the Christ, because she is the feminine Christ. She's the priestess that initiated Jesus, right? She was one of the priestesses that initiated Jesus. And so this is what you're dealing with in the spring equinox. You're dealing with Shakti's return, Mother Nature, and that's what Easter is all about, right? The resurrection of Christ is really talking about the celebration of the resurrection of nature itself, the mother coming back, bringing down this energy, right? And this energy is expressed through her son, right? And so this is where you have the Ma-sun, the Mason, this masonry energy with the Madonna and the child, the Madonna and the Christ. And the reason why you have the Christ sitting on the lap of Mary The same thing that you see with Aset and Haru is because it is through the mother that the king is to be initiated upon his throne and his rulership. Only the divine feminine and the feminine energy can initiate the king or the pharaoh or the man or the divine feminine upon his journey. And you see this even in the hero's journey, right? Where the hero or the knight is to meet up with the goddess or to save the princess. And this is a major key in your divine and spiritual journey. You cannot X out or cancel out or exclude or disregard the divine feminine. Excuse my hair. You cannot disregard the divine feminine. The divine feminine plays a major key. Baptism, you know, it talks about how you are to be regenerated through fire, how you are to be born again, you know, even within Christianity. So the mother goddess, this mother goddess energy, this feminine energy is very important because this is how you are to be renewed, right? This is how you have the wisdom to do what needs to be done. This is how you have the fire, the spark, the inspiration, right? Inspiration. Within inspiration, the root of that is spirit, you know? And so the Holy Spirit, the Holy Mother, is that inspiration that is given to you, that spark, that light that is given to you to do what needs to be done, to do what you need to do, right? You ever hear people on the podcast episodes on Manosphere where they talk about how, like, if a man has a good woman at home, you know, he's more motivated to do stuff. He's more motivated to do what needs to be done in the household, in his everyday life, right? You know, he don't want to go home miserable and he don't want to leave the house miserable. But you have some men out here who don't even have a divine feminine woman at home, right? It tells you in the Bible that it's better for you to wander off in the wilderness than to be with a quarrelsome, nagging, treacherous woman. It tells you that in the Bible. So, you know, when it talks about in the Bible how, like, it is cancer to the bones of a man to be with an argumentative woman, what do you think it is in the opposite when he finds a good woman, when he finds a righteous woman? You know what I'm saying? A divine feminine woman. So that's what you have going on, you know, concerning the basis of those type of ideologies of the divine feminine. So getting back to the spring equinox, what we're dealing with here is the mother goddess, the resurrection energy coming back to the earth. And this is energy that you can invoke and you can channel, you can tap into so that you could be the best version of yourself, whether you're a man or a woman, because all these energies, all the gods, all the goddesses dwell within yourself. Okay. So now that we got that out the way, all right, and I talked about in my last episode, check that out, episode 66, about the Kundalini rising. You know, and you know, I just saw in the news talking about how there's going to be like a major global warming issue this year. And I find that very interesting because this Kundalini rising, this Kundalini energy deals with a lot of us as black people. Okay. No disrespect to anybody who listens to me who isn't black, right? But the Kundalini energy is a clear reflection of the Naga energy, right? The nigga energy. So this Naga energy, you know, for us who are soulful, you know, we have this energy that we can tap into, and when we project it, it shifts everything around us. But a lot of us don't understand the power that we have. A lot of us don't understand what we can do and what we can, how we can utilize our Kundalini energy. You know, we might use it in church, we might use it during sex, we might use it, you know, when we getting our shuffle on at the club, whatever the case is. But some of us don't know how to utilize the energy to do what needs to be done. Some of us don't know how to utilize the energy to shift our life, to turn our life around, to become a better person and all that other type of stuff, right? So we'll deal with those type of issues on Patreon. You can check me out on Patreon. We deal with a lot of like deep topics concerning these type of things, whether it's Satanism, whether it's the Kundalini raising, whether it's mythology, mysticism and stuff like that. So, you know, join us on Patreon. I see one of the clouds done covered up. Let me turn the brightness up just a little bit. Cause oh, turning it down. Okay, y'all can see me now, right? Okay. Gotta have me focus. All right. So I don't want to be out here for too long. I know I'll be doing these long podcast episodes, go up to 45 to almost 50 minutes and stuff like that. My stomach is growling. Okay. It's 12:48. And somebody is texting me right now. Anyways, so let's deal with authenticity, shall we? All right, so let's start out with a story. A conversation I had with one of my friends, right? So I was on the phone. It was like in the evening. I won't say it was too late at night, but we were just talking about certain things about what I was posting on Instagram and stuff like that, and we was kikiing and having a good time, having a conversation about it and stuff like that. I was cracking jokes and stuff like that. Give a little side note, you know, the content that I produce on social media is not to spook you entirely. I know the effect that it has on people who may not be used to or familiar with the information, but my clear intentions is for people to get an understanding on these type of energies. So if you see the devil, as you call him, or Eshu, or Shiva, you see what I'm saying, or Elegua, it's not to spook you, okay? It's not to say that I worship an entity or a deity. It's not to say that I believe in a certain entity to do what needs to be done, okay? These are symbols. All the gods and goddesses are just symbols that just reflect the energy or describe or give you a description of the energy that is within yourself. So it doesn't matter what image that you see, whether it's Aset, Osiris, or whether it's Ogun and Oshun, or whether it's Dionysus and Zeus or Hera. It doesn't matter if it's the good guy or the bad guy. All of these energies deal with yourself. So whether you don't like it or not, whether you like Baphomet or not, these energies don't care whether you like them or not. You use these energies whether you like it or not. You ever told a lie? You ever killed somebody's momentum? You ever did good for somebody? You ever tried to be the hero to somebody, be the good Samaritan? All of these deal with characteristics. All the gods and goddesses deal with characteristics. Whether it's Aphrodite being the goddess of love, whether it's Haru being the literal hero, that's where you get the word hero from, is from Haru. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. Whether you're trying to play the antagonist and be Set, or try to play the protagonist and be the Haru. Everybody plays a part in this world. Everybody is living according to a certain purpose. Everybody's living according to a certain will. It could be something in terms of being known for thousands and thousands of years to come, or it could be you being the literal peasant, you know, in the fields or whatever the case is, right? And being forgotten after your life is gone. So that's not to discourage you, but it's just to let you know that everybody's playing according to a certain purpose. Now let me get back to the story, because I know people are like, yo, you just said you was gonna get to a story. I tend to do that. I tend to ramble. My apologies. But let me get on to the story, right? So me and my friend, we was talking late at night, and we was having a conversation about my content, and she's kind of 50-50 on my content, right? Like, she understands where I come from. She understands the type of energy that I talk about and invoke. She understands the whole concept around Satanism. And see, then the light comes back. Let me fix this real quick. Okay. All right. So She understands the information. She understands that the powers and stuff that I deal with and that I talk about is just a reflection of us and who we are. But she was like, you know, I just can't get into it at this point in my life. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, you know, my mother and my father, they're very religious, and I grew up in the church, and I love my brothers and my sisters and stuff like that, and they follow me, and you know, I really have this good bond with them and stuff like that. I have this great bond with them. I have this, you know, we're all this lovey-dovey in a family and stuff like that. And, you know, she lives in this household where they keep God first. And so she was talking about how, like, basically, that is a big bird, yo. Wow. I wish y'all could see it. Y'all excuse my ADHD. Anyways, my hair. Okay. So she was saying, like, I can't live the life that you live at this current point, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, anybody can express these thoughts and these ideologies off rip. It don't matter where you came from, right? And she was like, you know, that's easy for you to say because nobody really knows where you come from, Tyrone. You never told your parents that you don't believe in Jesus. You never told your parents that you don't believe in God no more. It's easy for you to say, Tyrone. You can be like this on social media, but in the real world, you over here playing the game. You over here, you know, under this mask or this persona. I told her, I was like, they think it's a phase. See, they don't take me seriously when I tell them stuff, and I try to say it in a way that they can understand it, right? Because I can't just tell my parents off rip that I don't believe in God or I don't believe in Jesus. Not necessarily true at all to say it just that blunt, right? But that's how they're going to take it when I tell them, you know, the basis of what I believe in and stuff like that. You know, to give an example, I remember I wanted a magic book, right? This book that talks about magic and mythological characters concerning the magic, and I wanted one of my family members to get it for me. And y'all excuse me because I gotta adjust the lighting as the cows are moving back and forth and stuff like that. But you know, I wanted the Grimorium Verum, right? And my uncle and my mother, they was talking and stuff like that, and the book came up, and I lied to you not, had a whole almost 10 to 15 minute conversation about the book because she thought that I was getting into some spook stuff, right? Now, for us who know, we know that these type of energies, they're nothing bad. Magic is just you utilizing your imagination. It's you manifesting things from the mind to existence. It's in the Bible. Speak those things which are not as though they already are. That is a magical concept. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. That is a magical concept. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That is a magical concept. So I don't know why they get so spooked when the same literal same knowledge and the same information is in the Bible, but because there's a certain concept or a certain image that go with the Bible, they uphold the Bible, but they will discriminate against and disregard and exclude certain books just because of the cover or just because of certain information in it, all that type of stuff, right? And so I was literally trying to tell her that these books are just giving information about certain ideologies and let me, because y'all got to see me when I say this. I told her that these books are just describing certain ideologies and topics about magic and mythology and metaphysics and all this type of stuff, right? That's all these books are talking about. Do you know what this woman told me? No disrespect to my mother. I love you, mother. Do you know what this woman told me? Why you want to know about that? I swear, black people are the only people that feel content with not knowing anything. What do you mean? Why do you want to know about that? I lie to you not. My family and black people looked at me crazy when I was 18 years old and I said I wanted, for Christmas, I wanted a whole shelf of books. Everything that was on my Christmas list, 90% of it were books. My family looked at me crazy. You sure you don't want anything else? I asked for like 5 books. You sure you don't want anything? Books? What you gonna do with books? Are they gonna help you get through school? Like all this, all this nonsense. It's ridiculous. And I see that with a lot of black people. Like when I started to discover and talk about more about, spirituality, as I was entering out of my Israelite phase, these Israelite people coming up, it's good to study information, but don't study all information. What does that even mean? How can you just limit knowledge? Doesn't it say in your Bible, in all thy getting, get understanding? How can you get understanding if you don't search for knowledge? It don't make sense to me whatsoever. I truly feel like sometimes there are some black people out there. There's a lot of them, but there are some black people out there that just feel content with not knowing, and that might be a little that perception in the way I'm saying it might be narrow-minded to say whatever the case is, because somebody could also argue that there's a lot of religious people outside of just black people that just feel content with not knowing. And I agree with you. I'm not dealing with the basis of that. Okay, I'm just specifically talking about my people. So I just want to give that disclaimer. I do understand the society that we live in and that the majority of the masses are completely dumbfounded. Okay, but we're not dealing with that right now. Okay, but to get back to my friend, she was telling me, like, you try to say that you can live this life and you can express yourself and stuff like that, but you can't be who you truly are in front of your parents, in front of your family members. I said, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And I'm not going to speak it into existence. God forbid. All right. Devil forbid. God forbid. Whoever forbid. But if my family were to find my page tomorrow, I wouldn't budge an ear, because I have built my platform for these past few years to get to where I am now. I have built my platform to make my income, to network, to collab, to do what I need to do in this world. And you mean to tell me that I'm going to shut all that down, right? Because of what my family think? I have been molded and I have been destined to live this life the way I need to live it. And it's because of the principles that I practice and that I study, I can advocate for, I can argue, I can debate about, I can stand up and defend myself within these ideologies. I don't care if they don't understand it. I'm not going to sit back and forth and go back and forth with people who just refuse to understand where I'm coming from. But you're not going to come at me sideways like I'm the crazy one, when the motive that I have is doing more for me than it is for you. Not only that, it's not like I've taken away my Christian ideologies. I'm omnist. I have more respect for Jesus now than I did when I was a Christian, because I know now Jesus was no punk, and Jesus was black, but Jesus was no punk. He wasn't no punk. They was calling him a devil worshiper. Oh yeah, you didn't know that? They called Jesus, they said that Jesus possessed demons. Jesus had the power of Beelzebub. Oh, we know Jesus got a demon now because he said this and this and this. They doing the same thing to me. They do the same thing to me, right? And what Jesus say? If they crucify you and if they talk bad about you, it's because they did it to me first. So people coming up to me calling me a devil worshiper, saying that I'm possessed by demons and evil spirits and I need to repent, all this type of stuff. And they said the same thing to Jesus. Who has more of a relation with Jesus, me or you? Right? Who has more of the relation with Jesus, me or the regular Christian that goes to church every Sunday? I'm just saying. But you know, I responded to her and I told her, I was like, I can literally live out the life that I want to live. And just because they don't see my platform doesn't mean that I have to do the most for them to understand it. See, when I'm content in my ideologies, when I'm content in who I am and what I believe in and what I know, I don't have to do the most. I don't have to wear a Baphomet shirt to let people know that I believe in Baphomet. If I know the reaction is going to have off rip from people to see the shirt, that doesn't mean that I don't believe in Baphomet any less. That doesn't mean that I admire Baphomet any less. I have a I got the whole Baphomet wall decoration on my wall, for goodness sake. You know what I'm saying? I have the Baphomet necklace. That's the limit, or that's just how I express that. I don't have to rock out and flex Baphomet 24/7. I don't have to do that. And see, that's what Christians do, right? They want to let everybody know they love Jesus. To do that means you're not really content and you don't really believe fully what you truly believe in. If you got to go out and do the most, let everybody know, just greeting people, hey, God is good all the time. Hey, greet your brother. Jesus is good. Let me tell you about Jesus. No, they're not content within themselves to go to those extents. Or if they have to go to those extents, they don't truly believe in Jesus. They don't truly believe in what they think that they know. You don't have to do the most. And you see all these spiritual people with the crystals and walking outside barefooted and stuff like that. Like, it's a trend. It's not real. It's a phase, or whatever you want to call it. It's not real. So you don't have to do the most. Once you have authenticity, once you have integrity, you can live your best life. You can live how you want to live. I could rock Jesus shirts all day and not believe that Jesus was an actual person. I have the ability to do that. I could rock satanic shirts all day and could believe in Allah. I have the ability to do that because those energies share a relation with one another. Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. Satanic means to become the rebel, means to become revolutionary, because the word Satan literally means to be in opposition or to be an adversary. Has nothing to do specifically with any being or entity in the Bible or in any Jewish folk tales. I'm just giving it to you real. So I don't have to do the most to get people's attention. I just be, and it gets people's attention. I don't have to, go out of my way to try and make fun of religious people to get people's attention. I literally do whatever I think of, whatever comes to mind, all the memes and stuff like that, and the attention comes by default. There were times where I used to think of, what could I really do to trigger people? What could I really do to get on people's nerves, right? I've moved out of that. I've matured. And so I let her know that just because you have a change of ideologies and beliefs does not mean that you have to let everybody know up and down the block. Because when I started to find out about the occult information, that's the first thing I wanted to do. I want to let everybody know Jesus wasn't real. When I first found out that Jesus wasn't real, when I was in the 12th grade, I tried to have this conversation with my family, and it was the worst thing I could ever do. Just because you have, you've now come to an understanding of this information, right? That does not mean that you have to let everybody know that what they believe in is wrong, or to let people know that, you need to see it my way. That's when you get back into the ego. You get right back into the cycle of where you was before. You're making a literal 360, not even a 180. You're making a 360. And that's what a lot of people do. They enter from one form of mundane thoughts to another way of mundane thoughts. And people think they're greater than thou because of titles and ideologies. Or I'm the goddess, and all this type of stuff. And they lost it. They lost in the sauce. So I let her know that you don't have to do the most and do all this type of stuff in order to be seen, in order to be heard, in order to have content within yourself of what you know, right? Like a lot of the things that I study and the stuff that I see, she agrees with me as well. But, unfortunately we kept going back and forth because she was like, I hear what you're saying, it's nice and all, but like, if your mother came in and she saw the decoration and stuff like that, she gonna be livid. Listen, my family have seen the decoration. I don't have to directly tell them that it's Baphomet. It is Baphomet. But again, at the same time, I know who I'm dealing with, and I don't have the time of day to go back and forth and argue. Like I said, I'm content within myself to know that I don't need to bash heads, especially when it's unnecessary, right? I told them it's the goat of Mendez, and it is. It's the goat of Mendez. Baphomet originates from Benebjadet. That's what it is. The goat is a symbol of, becoming the mastermind, knowing the ledge. There's no harm in that, and it's true. Sometimes you don't need to be vulgar or be completely blunt with people, especially if they're not going to get it when you be blunt and vulgar with them. Sometimes you have to strategize how to have certain conversations with people, because you can't teach people in the first grade and second grade about y equals mx plus b. You see what I'm saying? They have to first learn 2 plus 2 is 4 and 5 minus 3 is 2. So you have to strategize and be strategic with certain information and certain conversations with your family. You can't just be going all the way, because they're not going to understand it. And they're going to think you're crazy. Now, they might think you're crazy even when you break it down, but it's better for you to break it down, right, than to just be blunt. Jesus was never blunt with the audience. He always spoke in parables, right? And even with some of the parables, people didn't understand what he was talking about. The same thing, right? Because Jesus was like, if I was to tell them truly what these parables were talking about, they would never understand it, right? But he had to speak in parables for people to be engaged, for people to be captivated. Parables, stories are very entertaining. So people use memes, people use reels nowadays, people use content. They make content to engage people to the information. Give them a little laugh here, give them, something to share with other people. The same thing applies. So I just let her know, and we we bashed heads and stuff like that, because she kept reiterating that she has this close bond with her mother and father and with her family, and like she appreciates my content, but she don't want what I got going on and what she got going on to clash, because she feels like it just won't work out for her good, right? And if anybody knows anything about like certain families, especially if y'all Caribbean, right? And she's Caribbean, she is Jamaican. If anybody knows anything about like Caribbean families, some Caribbean families are very strict, right? I've seen a lot of strict families here in America too, all right? Here with black people here too. But I've seen some stuff with some Caribbean Christians and some West African Christians and stuff like that, or just African Christians in general. So completely understand that, right? But there has to come to a point as we get older and as we grow that we have to become our own person. And I'm not telling you to risk what you got going on and risk your relationships and your benefits. Like I said, you can be content within yourself, right? and just be who you are and know what you know, without going to the world and letting them know that you no longer believe in a certain concept, right? But there comes to a point where you have to have integrity. There comes to a point to where you can no longer just, and I talked about this in one of my podcasts concerning like being a modest woman and wanting to express yourself to where people call you promiscuous and a 304, all this type of stuff. You have to literally be content within yourself to express yourself the way that you want to. It is what it is. You have to have integrity enough to know that you can't sell yourself out, right? To just please everybody else. A lot of people claim that they're Christians and they want to be like Christ. Christ had this distance between him and his family because Jesus was an outcast. Jesus was somebody that stood out in front of the masses to such a point that his mother, his own mother, and his brothers and sisters wanted to distance themselves from him. They didn't want to be caught seen with him. Think about it. Turn this. Think about it. How many occasions do you see Jesus with his parents and with his brothers and sisters? Read the Bible. Read the Gnostic Gospels. You see how he grew up, right? How he ran off when he was 12, all this type of stuff. But you, in his journey, in his ministry, you see what happened at the wedding, whatever the case is. But the only time that you really see him with his mother was, his crucifixion. Throughout his whole ministry, you rarely ever see anything concerning Jesus with his mother and his brothers and sisters, because he was an outcast, right? I'm willing to believe that his family wasn't cool with him. His family was not cool with him at all at any point. I'm willing to believe it. I'm getting tired of these clouds, yo. I'm willing to believe that he clashed heads with his mother and father. I'm willing to believe that Jesus clashed heads with his brothers and sisters. Like I said before, I'm not telling you to do these type of things, but I'm just telling you, like, a lot of Christians claim they want to stand out. A lot of Christians claim that they are unashamed and unapologetic. But you're cool with everybody. I'm not telling you to make enemies, but when you stand out, when you let your light shine, yeah, men may see your good works and glorify the Father that is in heaven, but people are also going to try and dim your light at the same time. And you don't have to believe in the concepts I believe in to do that. You can literally just stay content within your Bible and content within your Christian beliefs and stand out just as much as I do. And I know some Christians, very few, but I know some Christians that are just as the same, just as unapologetic, just as outgoing and blunt as I am. Yeah. You don't have to, I'm going to say it one more time, you don't have to do the most to get attention. You don't have to do the most to let people know where you stand. Just be. Just be. If people ask you questions, you have to know the information and the knowledge to give them the answers that they deserve to know. And if they don't, like it also says in the Bible, to argue with a fool, you become a fool. So if they want to keep going back and forth and ask you these stupid questions and they trying to, minimize what you know, leave it. Leave it. Cut the conversation right then and there. Because they don't deserve your time of day. They don't deserve the information, and you just leave them dumbfounded. That's what you got to do sometimes. So, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Not everybody was meant to get this type of knowledge and information. Very few, as it talks about in the Bible, a small remnant of people are only going to get this level of information. Very few. And even people that may know or have knowledge of this information will never truly get it because of their ego, because of pride, because of certain other things in their life. Because once they get the knowledge, now they think they're better than somebody else. You didn't get it. You didn't get the message. People get the information and think they're better than their mother and father. They're better than everybody else that walk up and down the street because you got some information. You didn't get it. Because now you think you know everything. Those who know, don't know. And those who don't know, know. You can't be big-headed and think you know everything and oh, well, I'm gonna debate with this person. I'm gonna spew out. You're not as aware as you think you are. You're not. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. But let me head on out. Let me make sure I got, because I had some pointers this time. Let me make sure I got through all my pointers. Oh, quote of the day. Family isn't just blood, it's the people in your life who want you in their life. The ones who accept you for who you are. They are the ones who would do anything to see you smile and who love you no matter what. I leave that word with you today. Let's see, did I go through everything? Yeah, I went through everything. Off the top of my head? What? That's how you know I be in the spirit. But that's it. That's all I have for you today. Hopefully you got something out of this information, out of this podcast episode. Be authentic, have integrity. Like I said, you don't have to do the most in order to be known, but just be, right? If being just means that you no longer don't want to go to church anymore, if being means that you want to wear a certain type of color, or even if you want to wear the shirts, if you want to wear certain shirts that might stand out, or you want to dress a certain type of way that stands out, do so. As we're getting up in age, there comes a point where we have to be who we are. I'm not telling you to do the most. I'm not telling you to go back and forth and try to validate, you know what I'm saying? Your actions speak for itself, But there comes a point where we have to be, okay? We have to be authentic. We have to be real. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that we can't have certain personas, because, I be a certain way on social media, but I be a different way in front of my parents, and I be a different way in front of my friends, because people who might know me on social media, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, people get to know me, have a one-on-one, and they be like, I didn't even know you was like this. On social media, I thought you was an asshole. But you're really nice. So it's not to say that I have 3 different personalities. It's not to say that I'm different on social media than when I am in person. I'm all the same. But I have different personas, right? There's different aspects of myself that you're only going to see from a different view. Who I am on social media is the same person you see in person. It's the same person that you get to know intimately, but it's expressed in different ways. And I express myself in different ways, and I show people only what they are, or what I allow them to see. But I don't want to talk your head off. I need to get something to eat. I've been at it for almost it's been over 40 minutes now. When I said I wasn't going to do like a 40-minute podcast. But it is what it is. I just let the spirit flow. I just be on a roll. All right. And apologies for the lighting. I really can't stand, and it might be just because the lighting might have been good altogether. It might have just be me because it's bright sun, so all that type of stuff, right? You know what I need? I need to get one of those umbrellas, right? Umbrellas, so that I can know that the lighting is good or not. So I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna look to invest in stuff like that. Okay, but thank you for listening to the podcast episode. Hopefully the audio was good. Apologies for the wind, whatever the case is. Make sure that you check me out on all social media platforms at the Omnist Room. Share this podcast with somebody else if you feel like personally that this could be something enlightening for them if they're religious and they're having trouble, finding themselves, or if they're getting out of religion and they have trouble trying to find themselves, trying to express themselves, how to deal with this type of new information, being motivated to be more confident and to be more unapologetic about what they believe in, all that type of stuff. This would be a great conversation for you and your friend or somebody that that have. Send them this podcast, share this on your platforms, on Instagram, Snapchat, all that type of good stuff, all right? And don't forget, for those who are on Spotify, check out the poll at the very end, or if you're on Spotify, there's a poll for the people there. I think there's a poll on Apple Podcasts too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how that works, but I know specifically on Spotify, if you're on Spotify listening to me, give me your thoughts. Basically the Q&As, it tells you like, what are your thoughts on this podcast? What do you got from this podcast? So don't forget to give your answers and stuff like that as well. All right. So until next time, let me at least look right on my way out. Until next time, I'm Tyrone, and we out.
The waves brought me a song in the night that spoke in the softening light, words of a lonely one, unknown, caught in the darkening sea, whispering mysteries. Where can that poet be? Remote from my castaway island, he lets his poems drift on the sea. Immersed in the warmth of the current, they touch the deep